live. Hello, everybody. This is a special afternoon stream of CWF Network. I am blessed by a good friend of mine, a total wrestling mark, and the sickest dancer that you have ever met next to your uncle at your friend's bar mitzvah. It is the one and only BigBlueD. How you doing, Blue?
How's it going? Happy to be here.
Oh man, so let me just tell everybody a little bit about Blue. I found Blue by pure chance a few months ago, and he was running a virtual wrestling federation, the BTW, and I became a fan since. I love the characters that are involved in there, such as my boy Tony Pepperoni. Oh shoot, we got a raid. A host. That's you, right?
Yep, that's me.
Thank
Yeah, I
you,
was
Blue.
hoping it. You're welcome, you're
And
welcome.
really, I wanted to take this time to really talk about, the BTW and your experiences running it, but as well as what is it like to run a virtual wrestling federation? Because I think this content has gotten, maybe I'm wrong. Please tell me if I'm wrong. Ever since
Okay.
I feel like ever since the pandemic, that this type of content, the virtual wrestling fed, is becoming more popular. And since you do this, I really wanted to hear your side of it because we only see the wrestling matches. We don't see the nuts and bolts.
So, first off, I now have a brand new respect for Vince McMahon and any other promoter in the industry because when I first started doing this, I thought this will be easy. I'm just gonna throw people in matches, throw some feuds together, like like I've always said I could do with WWE if I was in charge, right? And it's not easy. As the roster gets bigger, right? Because we have BTW now has a roster of almost 100 people. Um, so to find time for everyone in 3 hour span, um, and book storylines and feuds and whatnot, long term, short term, all that stuff, break up alliances, find new feuds. It takes hours, and we're not even talking about the creation, like creating the wrestlers and making them from scratch and doing the arenas and the titles, all that. Like hours of my week is spent doing all this, and it's like I don't know how they do it.
Yeah. I think a lot of okay. So for anyone not really super in deep into wrestling like us, you really have to understand how the character creator is something that's very synonymous with the pro wrestling fandom. Somebody said it's like making a furry OC but less dignified.
I can see that.
Yeah, but for me, I tried it because I wanted to do. Everybody wants to make the friends, and I'm gonna make one guy, and I tried to do it in Fire Pro Wrestling, and after trying, because if you like any wrestling game, you have to add 30 moves, and it gets to a point where fuck this. So people really underestimate how much work goes into one wrestler, let alone two. But I wanted to ask, what was the impetus of you doing this? This is not something like, hey, I'm gonna turn on my camera and play a game. This is something that required a lot of upfront work.
So and it's funny. It actually was a kind of like an accident. So I was sitting there and I was trying to think of a way to get more involved with my community because I'm at my happiest when I'm interacting with them and and there's this rapport back and forth, this give and take, right? And I don't want to do Jackbox because nothing against people who do Jackbox, but the trolls on that game, that come in and somehow find a way to infiltrate are the worst.
Oh no,
And like,
it's that's a big legitimate problem, and it's one of the reasons why like streamers hide the codes and stuff. But then again, that defeats the whole purpose of a community game night.
right, right. So I was trying to think, and I was like, you know what? While I'm thinking about it, I was playing. I turned on WWE 2K19 for the first time in months, and I was like, I'm gonna make my buddy Rhetoric just on a lark, right? And I'm gonna show him. And then my mod mastermind was like, "Oh, you could have like a little channel point thing where like someone could have themselves created as a wrestler." And I was like, "No one's gonna do that. Like, literally, maybe two people will do that, and those are gonna be the wrestling fans, and that's it. But why not?" And I made it 300 channel points because I made it cheap.
Just 300?
Yeah, yeah, because that's
shit.
how little faith I had that anybody was gonna do it, right? So
Hey,
I put
Ghost,
it
one
in.
moment. Ghost to Cell writes BTW.
Woo! What up, Ghost?
Yeah. So you made it low just because you had no idea people would cash it in.
Right. So I made it 300 channel points, and on that, within the first week, I think I had 6 people cash in, and I started to be like, "Huh, maybe I should up this." So I made it 800, and people weren't slowing down. Like in the first like 2 weeks, I think I had 15 people. I think maybe 20. Um, and like all I was doing, I had no e-fed. All I would do is I would just put the people in random matches against each other. Just be like, all right, we're gonna have this one against this one. We're gonna have Jimmy Skinny versus Ghost ACL, right? And as people were really getting into it, I thought I should make a title. So then I made a title, right? And we had our first ever ladder match for the Twitch TV title. And then like that was like so big and so like it seemed like people really were into it. I'm like, I really should make a arena. So then I made an arena, and like it just kind of snowballed. It went from like this little on a lark, from Mastermind saying like you should make a thing where people can get themselves created to full blown EFED, like almost overnight. And I was like, how did this happen?
I definitely get that feeling where I just wanted to do this as a joke, and you just kind of ride the momentum, and then when you're like a few weeks into it, like, what the fuck did I get myself into?
Yeah. Like last night alone, right? I ended my stream and I spent 2 hours working on BTW stuff. 2 hours. Yeah. And on an off night.
2 hours? 2 hours.
Yeah.
What were you exactly doing
Yeah.
in those 2 hours? Is that like normal for you?
No, normal when I do normal work for BTW, it takes about 6 hours of my time. Um, this was shortened because it was just like I was gonna go in, tweak some move sets a little bit. Starting tonight, I'm gonna be lowering everybody's stats to like 80 overall, so that they can naturally progress or decrease in ratings. Make it a little more realistic. We'll see how that goes.
So, yeah, Ghost of Seal goes, right, so we were going crazy with redeems.
Yeah, yeah. It got so like I actually had to change the channel point things. I had to up the price to I think it's 3,000 now, if I'm not mistaken, per man and 1,500 per woman. But I also had to make a rule: multiple redemptions per person, no longer. Because people who had like a ton of points were like, okay, I want you to make this version of me, this version of me. I want you to make Betty White. I want you to make my dog. So it was like the roster filled up. Literally, I have no room. Like, I think I have one space left.
I like
Oh,
I like the person who's like this version of me. I was like, all right, calm down, Mick Foley.
yeah, yeah. No, like at one point, I had people requesting the most popular request. The men would request a female version of themselves, and the females would request a male version of themselves. That was like the most popular thing I had going.
That's actually kind of cool that it is. I mean, seeing yourself under a different lens is always a fascinating aspect. But
Yeah,
we're talking a lot about the viewers. So, for those who don't know BTW, walk them through the character, like the experience of what of building a wrestler and the viewer's input. Like, how do you do it?
Okay, so say you cash in, right? You say you want CWF Network and the BTW. What I would say to you is, okay, give me at least two of your favorite colors. Give me the type of wrestler you want. Like, do you want to be a high flyer, a brawler, a tank, a technical guy, like submission artist, whatever, right? And then, like, let me know if there's any certain finisher or signature that you want. If you say, like, whatever you give me, I implement it. However, if you just say, I have faith in you, just do what you want, then what I do is I make the character tailored to what I picture that community member being like in the ring, right? I'll try and make the moves fit them. I'll try and make the entrance fit them. Case in point, shiny shoes. Everyone looks at him as like this dad. He's like the dad of all of us, right? Just this the guy that you picture like
At
doing
a
the
grill.
barbecues for everybody and on the grill and calling you champ, hey champ, how you doing, or sport. I gave him the power walking. He kind of power walks to the ring and like puts up the dukes. It's just it fits him. It's shiny, like, and people pick that out right away. They're like, "Oh, it's got to be shiny." I've never seen before, right? That's shiny. It's definitely shiny. So like that's what I try and do. I try and like tailor everything to the community members and make it as personalized as possible because I want it to represent them as best as possible.
That's actually really cool that you go that extra mile, and it really shows how deeply in touch with the community you are. That you see them more than just names. You actually get to know their general personalities.
Yeah. Well, to me, that's what streaming is. Streaming is community, and community ends up being family. So like you want to kind of show that reciprocate that love to your family and like so what I'm trying to do is put my family in a wrestling ring so they can beat the shit out of each other.
So you mentioned how you have a lot more respect for bookers when it comes to laying a match card. When was the time that you realized, like, oh shit, this is hard? Like, what was the first time you realized that?
Um, right after the Royal Rumble, because I realized I built an arc that ended at the Royal Rumble, and I didn't have anything really after. I had no real plan. And I was like, well, how do I do? Because, like, I don't want people getting tired of this, right? I don't want people being like, well, this is boring. It's just more matches, whatever, like, and then stop watching. So I literally spent probably about 4 hours a night for about 2 weeks um, making a long term plan through November. So um, I literally got multiple arcs, and like it took so long because like I'd be like, okay, if I do this part of the arc, then this person is probably not going to wrestle for a little bit because they're going to be injured, or things like that. So then it's like, if I do that, will it affect anybody else? Like, is maybe someone's in a feud with them or in a tag team. So then I got to figure out what to do with that person that's no longer, you know, attached to the person that's injured. It's a lot. It's a lot. Like, you don't realize one little move affects everybody.
Oh, I mean that's wrestling in general, but I bet it's one of those things where it's like where you'll book a plan and then a match happens a certain way. It's like, well, that's 10 hours of my work in flames.
That's happened so many times. Like you have no idea. Like, okay, so was it WrestleMania? No. Well, that did happen at WrestleMania, but there was one. I had a pay-per-view where I was supposed to defend the title, right, against Raven '89, and I had it where I would have like an advantage due to the match type because it was a cage match, right? And I thought my guy's small, quick, his is big, strong, so I could climb quicker, get out, whatever. He annihilated me. He literally jobbed me out.
You
So I'm
you
like,
got killed on your own
shit,
title defense.
I did. So then I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna book an immediate rematch, and like I'll be good then. I lost again. So then I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to like kind of make a turn into left field, and I started like doing like heel booking where I was constantly putting him in unfair situations and ganging up on him and whatnot until I got to Elimination Chamber where I was supposed to win the title there, but then Magnus wins the title. I got wrecked by one of the BWO members. Ghost ACL.
Ghost does
Wrecked
write
me.
that they wish they could fall you 100 times over. Just letting you know
They
before you
wish
shit talk them.
they wish what?
Ghost writes, "I wish I could follow Blue 100 times over." So
Aw, I
be
appreciate
careful
that.
with those, because Ghost
No,
names
no,
out
no,
of
he
your
knows, he
mouth.
knows. I bust his chops all the time about it. I'm like, his bloodlust overtook him and he attacked everybody, including allies in that match. But so Magnus won the title, and then I was like, okay, this is gonna culminate with me winning the title at Mania. So now the booker in me, I was like, I'm going to take advantage. I'm going to lower his head door ability, right? If I lower the head door ability, all my finishers focus on the head. So I lowered it to like 50. And he beat me. He kicked out of every finisher. And I'm like, this is all my plans are just getting thrown
Oh
away.
my god,
Left and
I
right.
can't
Even when
believe before the match you went in the back end. It's like, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pre Randy Orton headlock this guy.
yeah, pretty much. Like, so like I very rarely do that, right? But every now and then, if I'm trying to help like an angle along, if I need someone to win, like absolutely win a match for like booking issues, I will lower some things or increase some things, whatever, right? It didn't work. He still beat me, but I hurt him. I hurt him. I gave him a head injury. So I did an immediate rematch, faced him again, got the title, got the booking back on track. But it took so long. It wasted weeks and weeks of booking that I had planned.
This was you just basically Owens Jericho this feud.
I did. I did. I really did. And like so now the booking process that I'm looking for is I need my Austin. I'm the Vince McMahon, right? I need my Austin that takes me down. So I've been in search of like I have a couple of options. I made Nick Omega and like I wanted him to be my Austin. But he's been losing. And like even if I
don't let
like,
that stop
lower
you.
people's stats, he loses. And I'm like, how is he gonna be my Austin if he can't beat anybody, let alone like, come on.
Just do what WWE does. Just say somebody's good and then have them win. I mean, that's what worked with Jinder Mahal.
But he's not winning. I can say he's good. I try and hype him up, right? Whenever he comes out, I'm like, his entrance is probably the best in the BTW and all. He looks so intimidating, and then he loses to like everybody, and I'm like, this isn't working for my book. I may have to find a new Austin at this point. I don't know. Or I'm gonna have to literally lower opponents to like a 60 overall when they face them. I don't.
So, is there kind of some sort of unwritten agreement between you and your community when it comes to making a wrestler? In the sense that not everyone can be the champion, and somebody has to lose. So,
Right.
how do you, juggle their probable expectations of seeing their themselves win a lot versus losing a lot?
So thank God, nobody really takes it so seriously that like they're gonna get upset if they're on a losing streak. Like I made one of my guys is Raven 89. I made him like the Kane of the BTW, I wanted him to be like someone who wins a lot, but he's been losing a lot, and like it's like he's bummed about it a little bit, right? Like he might be like, man, I want him to start winning more, but he's not going to be like, oh my god, you got to do something, like get me to win, you know? Nobody's really like that, thank God. Which makes it a lot easier on me because I know they have faith in me to kind of like just let it go for the RNG. If I don't have plans for them with belts or whatever, I just let the community, you know, like the game decide who wins, right? For titles, I mean, a lot of times that is RNG as well. I mean, the tag titles, I didn't have any plans on who to hold the tag titles, and then Ghost ACL and Phantom Pain won them, and it's like this actually works better because Ghost is part of the BWO. So now it's like the BWO is like undisputed era, trying to get all the gold. Now everybody's against them. It works.
Laughing just right. Laughing just 0-13, baby.
Oh God! So what that means is Laughing Jess has the longest losing streak in BTW history. She started out 0-13, and then when I had the clean slate initiative where I wiped all the records back to zero, she's now one of the most dominant women in the company. She's like, I don't know, like 10-5-1 or something.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but notice your pay-per-view track and a lot of the iconography in BTW is very reminiscent of WWE.
Well, yeah. So whenever WWE has a pay-per-view, right? That day I do a pay-per-view stream. So eventually we're gonna have our own names. I've been asking the community for feedback on naming pay-per-views, and then like if I use something, I'll send them a free piece of BTW merch or something. But like I I grew up watching WWE. I watched, you know, Ring of Honor and you know, even a little AEW, WCW, TNA back when it was TNA. Um, but WWE is pinnacle, right? So if I want to base my stuff off of them as much as possible, but also take it in a direction I don't think they would go and be like different from them. Like, you know, so you wouldn't see a steel cage main event on a weekly there, but you will in BTW. So
Also, we won't see a steel cage match. A Hell in a Cell end in a ref stoppage, right?
yeah, which was not a DQ. People, stop saying he was DQ'd. It did. They never once said it was a disqualification. He just stopped it because he thought he was dead, but it was dumb. But it wasn't a DQ. Stop saying it was a DQ.
It's not a DQ. It was still a bad finish. It was like remember when Lesnar took out Strowman and I think he's Strowman and Reigns, and then they ended the match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's no DQ, but they in that one there was a DQ, I believe.
I mean, yeah. Let's be fair. There are ways we could book a little bit better than Vince.
Yeah, there's definitely times where I shake my head mercilessly at the man. But I will say, BTW running it has made me realize the man does a lot better than we think. Because it is so hard to run a roster of like 75 plus people and find time for them all and try and push them equally and all. And then imagine he's got like, what, 300 probably? Or close to it in terms of like the two rosters.
It's very difficult to run a card and have no one get mad. Even if it's not good, if nobody gets mad, that's a Herculean effort.
Yeah, exactly. That's a rarity and a half.
So how has running BTW affected the way you watch wrestling? Like, do you see it from a booker sense now?
Yeah, a little bit. It used to be I would watch Raw or SmackDown, you know, AEW, NXT, whatever, and I would be like, what is he doing? Why are they not pushing this person, right? Like, this person should be on TV more. Like, And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, maybe it's because they've got these angles going on and there's not enough time for them, or maybe it's because they can't. Like, I used to be a big Ricochet guy. I don't give a shit now. I don't. Like, the guy can't cut a promo. He's great in the ring, but I understand now, as a booker, I wouldn't push him. I wouldn't, because he can't cut a promo, and you need, like, the entire package. If you're going to be put on TV with limited hours denominated towards that TV show, right? You want to get guys that stand out in every facet. And guys like that, they just don't. They're boring. They're vanilla. So I get it now. Whereas before, I'd rage. Why aren't you pushing Ricochet?
Uh, with that in mind, I take it that you completely agree with them pushing Adam Cole a lot.
Oh, hell yeah.
Fuck, I called it. You see that? You see that chat where he's all, yeah.
That man's the GOAT. Like, he's the best in the modern era, in my view. Like, I don't see anyone better than him. Like, he's just moves, like his in-ring work, his promo ability, the presence, the way he sells, the psychology of it all. It's just, the man is the next Shawn Michaels, in my view.
Doesn't help that he has long brown hair and super kicks.
I mean, yeah, true. But he doesn't really use the super kicks as much as he did in the Indies. Oh,
No,
thank goodness.
no, he definitely doesn't. I definitely one thing I do appreciate about Cole is that even though he is the cool guy, he's not afraid to job himself out.
Right.
Right, which I think was one of, like, people talk about The Rock and how The Rock is really good, and he is. But one detail about The Rock that's overlooked was that he was willing to be the fool. Like, when remember his feud with the Hurricane?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And how the Hurricane would make fun of The Rock, and instead of doing, like, the too cool for school, like, The Rock's like, ah, no, don't make fun of me.
Yeah.
So good. Because I really think one of the lost arts in wrestling, like in any performance, is making your partner look good. Because if your partner looks good, then you look good. And if you both look good, then people want to see you both fight.
Right. Exactly.
And Adam Cole, when he bumps, he dies. I mean, freaking Kyle O'Reilly, he was killed.
I still remember, I don't know if you ever saw the match between Cole, and this goes to anyone watching right now. If you haven't seen this spot, this is legitimately my favorite spot in wrestling of all time. Aleister Black
Versus Adam Cole with the chair spot?
Yep, the chair spot. When he was flipped, and he landed spine first on the top of the chair, instantly I thought to myself, you can't fake your way through that. You can't, like, land a certain way. He landed spine first over that chair, and I instantly cringed. I did when you like literally did that when watching, and I kind of did one of these, like, oh, is he dead? Is he dead?
Those are the best moments in wrestling. Not a wrestler getting hurt, but the moments where it just feels real. And there's two things I remember from the match. The chair spot and the finish, where Cole just yells, "Take your best shot," and Aleister Black kicked the soul out of his face.
Oh, he did. Yeah.
He did. He's like, "Take your best shot." Pow! That was so good.
That match was
we're wrestling bars in here. We're wrestling chat. By the way, what are you drinking?
Oh, get some orange too.
Cool.
That's all I drink.
Gatorade guy?
Yep.
I used to hate Gatorade as a kid, and then you realize why it's salty. And then when you need it, okay. So, sorry for getting a little sidetracked about that. When it comes to booking, what's your major philosophy toward it? Are you someone who kind of like prioritizes making sure everybody looks good? Are you more of, let's see where the chips fall and I'll write around it? what's your booking
So,
ethos?
so basically, my booking is I kind of let it go fall where it may for the most part, right? Like, except for when it comes to championships. When it comes to championships, I try and make it where everybody looks good that's in the program if I can, but I'm thinking long term. Like, I'm trying to book long term. Um, it doesn't matter if you have a great program and you have like these great matches play out in the ring and someone wins a title if you don't have anything planned after. Because then it's like, well, then the person's
I
just
get
sitting there with the
busy
title,
doing
right?
that.
Like
So
one of
I
the
don't know
issues
if that's
I
maybe
ran in
another
with Magnus when he won the
thing I'm dealing
title.
with,
I
but
wanted him to win the title at some point,
I don't know if I like it.
but
But it's
around
fine.
SummerSlam
Got me
maybe,
fever.
right?
I haven't gotten
When he
sick.
won it at Elimination Chamber, I was like, I don't know what to do with him. Like, so I tried to keep him dominant by getting wins, putting him against people that were on losing streaks and whatnot, just to kind of make sure, um, to keep him relevant and like strong as a champion. But I couldn't really put him in like feuds with anyone other than me because I was the one chasing the title at the time. And it was like I was supposed to be feuding with Raven, not him. So I had to veer. And like it ended up being I think he had maybe two defenses of his title as opposed to like when people have multiple defenses usually, just because it threw me for a loop. You know, I wasn't planning on it, and at the time, I wasn't booking long term, so it kind of shifted my perspective.
What about yourself? You're in the BTW, aren't you?
Right.
How do you
Yeah.
view your character? Do you view yourself as like an extension of your booking? Like, okay, if someone's gonna lose, it could be me because I'm me. Or do you
Right.
try to book yourself as a legitimate wrestler and you kind of separate your Big Blue the booker versus Big Blue the wrestler? Like, okay, Big Blue's winning a lot, so he should be in the storyline not because it's me, but because he's winning.
Right. So initially, the idea was for me to be part of a just a tag team. I was going to be one of the baby faces. I was with Rhetoric, who at the time was still Slurp and we were Slurp ND. And I booked the Royal Rumble, and I was supposed to enter at number one, right? That was my plan all along. I wanted to establish me as like hopefully someone that could get it to at least spot 15, the guy that like works good matches and then maybe loses whatever, but like a workhorse kind of guy. And Raven had won the opportunity to come in 30th. I booked it. I was in a share play at the time with Mastermind, and he saw me booking it, and I put it just like that, right? I pressed start, confirmed everything. When the Royal Rumble started, Raven came out first, and who do you think came out 30th?
Wait, how did that happen?
I don't know, but I've also had it where I've booked Taco in a match, and it showed him in the thing like that he's facing this person, and when the match starts, Taco doesn't come out. Nick Omega came out. It's I guess it's just like glitchiness. I don't know. Like there's been some weird glitches in that game, but of course, nobody believed me, right? Nobody believed that, like, I didn't put myself in the 30th spot. They were just like, ooh, rig blue D, rig blue
Red
D.
Blue Team.
And I was like, no, like, on it. So finally, I'm sitting there, right? And I'm thinking about it while this is all going on, literally on the fly. I'm like, you know what? This could be an opportunity. If I embrace this and be like, yeah, I did it, I could become the Vince McMahon of BTW, except I can actually wrestle, right?
Okay.
So that's how Heal Me was born and the BWO was formed.
Uh, Before we continue, I just want to give a quick shout out to Tox. Everybody, if you can, give Toxana a follow. I shouted her out here. She's a great cozy streamer. She's a little under the weather as of yesterday. So we're gonna Tox, this cup of warm green tea is for you. It's a reminder.
I'll take a drink too.
Yeah, drink to that.
Okay.
No pinky up? Mmm. Yeah. But there's one role in the BTW that we haven't really touched on. In addition to being booker and character creator, you're also part commentator.
Yeah. So that's been inspired by back in the 80s, right? Everyone knew Vince was the owner of WWE, but they never really talked about it. And he commentated. He did he did interviews backstage. He was at the table, doing commentary. And so, like, I thought to myself, that would be a good way of doing it. I own the BTW, but I'm also, like, on commentary. So, like, that's where that came from. Only I'm a little more biased, like, because I'm supposed to be, like, the uber heel. I kind of throw in some, like, oh, here comes the job squad, or, when Laughing Jess wrestles, I call her the sneaky weasel. Like, things like that. Like, I'm and I'll be like, yeah, the BWO, most dominant, like, I use the commentary to kind of guide things as well when I can.
When it I definitely appreciate the personal touch where you're using commentary to not only highlight what's in the action, but to also progress the story along, like any good commentary should. Do you have any commentary influences? Like, are you directly pulling from some people, or are you just kind of like, I'm just gonna call it how I see it?
Bobby Heenan.
Bobby Heenan, is that your guy?
That's the greatest commentator and manager of all time, bar none. I know most people would say Heyman on manager and, like, good Lord, as a commentator, but, like, no, like, to me, he's bar none the best.
Now, most commentary teams are a team. You usually got two people, and you commentate by yourself, right?
Yeah, so yes and no. So what I do is I go into Discord before every stream, right? And I leave the option for people to come in and guest commentate if they so choose. So sometimes, like, a lot of times people don't join, but, like, every now and then, like, you'll have people jump into the voice chat and do some commentary as well.
So what would you say, as someone who's done single man and 2-man teams? Eventually you'll do 5, right?
No. I think the max I would probably do is 3.
What would you say is the advantage or disadvantages of going single versus a duo?
Well, the advantages is you kind of run the pace, right? Like, you're setting the pace. You don't have to worry about, like, if you're saying something, you kind of have to stop, so that they can say their piece. It's a lot more free form, right? But at the same time, it's like you're only you. Like, it's only you talking, so there's no real interaction. There's no banter. There's no back and forth. One of the things that makes the Gorilla and Bobby Heenan so great is, they were great about talking what's in the ring, but their back and forth was legendary. It made JR and King's back and forth look like amateur hour. That, like, it was just perfection how they interacted with each other. And, like, when you have that kind of back and forth with someone, it's entertaining.
Yeah, I definitely agree that the chemistry of the commentary team is pivotal. In my opinion, one of the most underrated pairings was Stryker and Vampiro from Lucha Underground, and I think and, like, personally, one of my favorite commentary. It's not really a commentary like person, but a trope is when a commentator's bias seeps into it, because then it shows that the commentary is viewing it as a person. Like, people give Michael Cole shit all the time, but Cole is good. I think Cole's good.
Right.
Right. And he has one of my favorite calls in wrestling, which was Eddie Guerrero versus Brock Lesnar. And when Eddie scaled the top, when he's going to the turnbuckle, you hear Cole go, "Come on, Eddie, come on!" And that gives me goosebumps.
Absolutely.
Where the action is so personal that the commentator has thrown aside all biases.
Yeah, or when Daniel Bryan won the title at WrestleMania 30, when he was like Miracle on Bourbon Street.
Yeah, Miracle on Bourbon Street, or when the Vaudevillains won the tag championships at NXT TakeOver, Corey Graves was legitimately angry, like, this is a goddamn travesty!
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, when you throw that kind of personalization in, right? That bias, it makes them feel more connected. It makes them feel like everything feel a little more personal and less detached. That's where I think, because that's what I think Bobby Heenan's like really did well, was that he was constantly talking about how Hulkamania should die, and all the little like fans, the like where the Hulkamaniacs were cretins or whatever he used to call them. It was just, you hated him even more, right? Because everybody at that time was a Hulkamaniac. So, like, when you heard him talking smack every time he was on the microphone, you just wanted someone to belt him. And that's such a great, that sucks you in as a viewer when you have that person making you want to either punch him or when you're rooting along with them.
And I think what's very important, and that's lost, not necessarily on commentators, but when people try to do commentary, is that when you want to be the bad guy, it's very, very important that you're upfront with your biases and you're painted in the wrong. Like, Bobby Heenan worked because we knew he's the bad guy.
Right.
Right, and it's clearly, Bobby Heenan's personal biases. But going back to the pairing, as somebody who has tried doing, like, single-person commentary, I think one of the best things about having a partner is that when your partner's talking, you have time to think about the next point.
Yes, that's very true.
You watched old ECW, right?
Yes.
Now,
Joey
Styles, he's not a bad commentator. He's definitely not. And he definitely prides himself at having, being by himself. But one pitfall that Joey Styles would fall into, was that a lot of his commentary was superficial. He would go, "Taz does a kick! What's gonna happen next? He's climbing the turnbuckle! He's jumping from the turnbuckle!" And
yeah,
I mean, when you're by yourself, you're gonna run into that, and it really made me appreciate Mauro Ranallo. I love him. He's my favorite.
Yeah, he's my second favorite. Yeah,
he's my favorite because he not only told you what's happening, but he told you why something was important that was happening. Just like where Joey Styles would go, "He's climbing the top rope," Ranallo would be. This was a classic one. "Ricochet in the high red district."
Yep.
Right, but that was very important to the viewer because it's not enough to say he climbed a ladder, but to say that this is a very risky maneuver because we don't know that. And even if we do know that, it's really good to be reminded of it.
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
and he would also get super excited about things.
Oh my God, he would get excited. He would get disgusted. I think he once went like, "God damn it, Ciampa!"
Yep, and like that again. That sucks you in because it makes it feel more important, like what's going on.
Yeah, commentators can bury people as well as like JBL did to AOP. Fuck JBL. I'm gonna say that.
Yeah, Yeah. JBL ruined Ascension before they even got
He
started.
did. JBL did. There is one call JBL did that I will give him credit for,
Which is what?
which was when James Ellsworth versus AJ Styles, and you hear him go, "Oh my God, no! Oh my God! Oh my God!" When AJ took the super kick.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'll give him credit for that.
I'll give him
too.
credit, but
Like, he's a dick.
he is a dick. But Blue, what do you think makes a good commentator?
For me, what makes a good commentator is someone who understands what a commentator is supposed to do, right? A commentator is supposed to call the action in the ring, right? But they're also supposed to make you care about what's going on in the ring. Make everything feel like it's super important, right? Like when Michaels and Flair had their match, um, and everything was back and forth. The commentary team made it known that a man's career was on the line, right? And like it sucked you in even more because they did their job of making every move, every movement, every action seem like it was just the most important one in the world. And so a good commentator to me is someone who doesn't just use basic like you said, like Joey Styles. Like, he's climbing the turnbuckle, he's jumping off the turnbuckle. Like, no. Someone who's like, he's climbing up in the high risk district. This could make the match and it could break it for him, you know? Like that's the kind of stuff that sucks you in. It gets you amped, like, oh my god, is he gonna crash and burn or is he gonna hit the move he's looking for? But making you care whether it's going along like rooting for the face with them or wanting to punch him because he's rooting against the face, right? That's what makes a good commentator.
Now, you know the old philosophy of wrestling character acting, which is it's act yourself but multiply it by 10.
Yeah.
I want to know how much of BigBlueD that the viewers see you in terms of like the character you play in the BTW, how much is that is you and how much of that is a character?
Okay, so the heel version of me that's currently there is probably my what I call my trolling self because like I'm good at trolling. If I want to troll, I'll admit I know how to get under people's skin. It's a curse, I guess. But it's that part of me cranked up to 10. My actual self, like, you know, me every day, would be more what I was when I first started before I turned like into the Vince McMahon version. Cranked to 10. Like I did, you know, the weird dancing, just like you know, Rhetoric does. I came out doing like awkward gyration moves and had a very weird move set. Like um, that is more me amped to 10 than my current version. That's more a facet of me cranked to 10, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I get it. Like the face you is you on the day to day. Meanwhile, the heel you is you trying to find the negative aspects in you and that you amplify.
Right. Yeah.
Do you find it uncomfortable playing that ugly side of yourself?
No. No, I just find it I play it as a character, just as a role, right? Like to me it's no different than if I was gonna be acting in a play or a movie part, right? Like you just this is your role and you gotta play it to the best of your ability.
Okay, gotta ask. What do you find more enjoyment being, face or heel?
Definitely heal. Definitely heal.
See, this is how I know
so
you're
fun.
freaking Mark. It's like Mark's always like, I want to be a heel. Thank
So,
you
like-
for proving the stereotype.
So here's the reason though, right? As a heel, I get to mess with the viewers, right? And like the community. I get to try and get a rise out of them and get them like, really going against me. The more invested that the community is and the viewers are, the more that they're like cheering or jeering, the better I'm doing my job. If there's no activity in chat, right? I'm not doing the job I'm supposed to be doing, clearly. So, as a heel, I try and like reach way down into like the history. I try and throw together Ric Flair at his worst, Vince at his worst, The Rock at his worst, Shawn Michaels at his worst. I try and like throw it all together and just be like the slimiest, most arrogant SOB possible.
Who do you? Okay, now I want to ask, who's your favorite heel or your favorite type of heel?
Of all time?
Yeah.
My favorite heel of all time has to be Roddy Piper.
Ooh, good old Roddy Piper.
Yeah, Roddy, he got it, man. He knew exactly how to make fans care about the match and how to get them going. Like, and I'll never ever forget the greatest line maybe in all of wrestling. Just when you think you have all the answers, I change the question.
That's so good.
I love that. Love it. And like, to me, the way he played the heel, and he was a great babyface too, don't get me wrong, but the way he played the heel was just perfection.
Ghost writes, "May Piper rest in peace."
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I think one of the I'm not gonna say an unsung heel, but a very good art of the heel that we don't talk about as much is Kurt Angle, and how he went from like goofy heel, like haha cowboy hat, to I'm gonna rip your ankle off.
Yeah. No, he was a fantastic heel. And I think actually, in a way, a modern, well, maybe not a modern version of him, but close, is Corbin. In a way, if you think about it, like he's a guy who got that kind of, he can play off of like the comedy guy, right? Like when he was doing with Zayn, but then like he gets in the ring and he's just like, I'm not afraid of you. I'm just gonna break you, and the crowd, you're gonna have to deal with it.
Doesn't help that they're both bald.
That's a good point.
For me, I think I see a lot of that dynamic in MJF, actually.
Yeah.
But I mean, a little less of the killer side, but more of like MJF will be goofy and allow himself to be the fool, but they still present him as a legitimately good wrestler.
Right. Like Jericho, in a way. Jericho was the same way, He didn't mind getting made a fool of, like with, what was it? What was the name of the plant?
Mitch,
yes. Mitch the Plant. Like, come on! He named the friggin' plant, and broke it, and then, what's his name? Named the plant, and then he literally went after the plant and broke it. Like,
it was Ambrose. It was the Ambrose fruit.
Yeah. Ambrose named it, and then Jericho made a point of, breaking it, right? Like, he went along with this whole mix thing, and, turned it into a crowd, angering moment where he broke Mitch the Plant. That's just great, That's top heel work.
I mean, come on, let's look at the stuff Jericho got over: a plant, a list, champagne, stupid idiot,
a light up jacket.
Come on, that's a cool jacket.
Yeah, no, it's a cool jacket, but I mean, come on, when he did the "you owe me $20,000" or whatever. He kept bringing it up.
Remember when Jericho had that whole stint where he would just come out, say nothing, and then walk away?
Yeah.
And then he does the hot tag and gets everybody fired out and then leaves the building. I want that power. He's
brilliant. He's brilliant. One of the best to ever do it.
So, Blue, if you were a wrestler, what would you want your finisher to be? I gotta ask. Like, if you could do any move in the wrestling lexicon, What
It
would
would
it
be
be?
one I've never seen before.
What?
It's one I've never seen
Oh,
before,
oh,
and I
wow,
still
you're one of
wait
those
for it.
guys. Okay.
Yeah, it's something that I've been wanting to see done because I believe it can be done. A pop-up Uranagi.
So they would do the Kevin Owens pop-up powerbomb and then transition to Uranagi?
You would pop them, you throw them up in the air, and you kind of spin so that when you spin around, your arm catches the waist and bam, spikes him into the ground.
Okay, maybe if you were Cesaro.
I mean, yeah, like, well, I mean, if I was a wrestler, right? If I could be a wrestler, I would be training constantly to be like Cesaro, right? Like, the guy's got everything. He's got the speed, the agility, the power. Like, I would be strong enough, I think, that I could launch a guy up in the air and catch him. Even if you don't do the spin, just pop him up and spike him into the ground.
Yeah, let's be fair. Like, okay, we got the Bucks and stuff, but when it comes to a wrestling physique, Cesaro has got everything next to Nevin.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's just ridiculous.
Remember? Yeah, it's like no fair. How can you be both fast, agile, and strong? You can't have all three, Cesaro.
And I don't know if you've ever seen him on Up Up Down Down on YouTube, but the man literally is good at everything. Like they did a thing where everybody got together and started throwing axes for the first time. They went to like those axe throwing places. He was getting bullseyes, and he'd never done it before. He was just boom, 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 getting bullseyes.
I did.
He did. He learns like these video games, plays them for the first time, and after like 10 minutes, he's got it down pat. Like he's just a prodigy at everything he does. It's insane. Bowling.
I saw the
They
one
went
where
bowling and he was killing it.
I saw the one where he lost at Uno, and
Yes.
his punishment was to do the William Regal entrance.
He's a man.
Did you see that one?
I did.
Yeah, and then he like recreates his video.
So actually, that's where I got my. I mean, I've always loved Uno, but that's what's gotten me wanting to play Uno more. Is because I watched every episode of The Party, playing Uno together, and like it just makes me love that game even more.
I'm just happy that there are more pro wrestlers embracing the video game side of things, just because they understand that. I'm gonna say this. Wrestling is nerdy. It's the nerdiest fucking thing in the world.
Yeah.
It's literally pretend fighting. It's pretend fighting with a story setup that is similar to comic books. There, I said it.
Right. Yeah. Basically, it's no different than Game of Thrones, right? Except rather than fighting dragons and witches and whatever, right? Like, it's just people fighting against each other. It's a scripted, storyline-based show with choreographed athleticism and punishing physical spots. Let's not leave that out. Like, people think, oh, it's all fake, so no one ever gets hurt. There's no way you know how to land on a ladder properly, right? Like, they're getting smacked with, like, you go watch, what's his name? Sheamus give a bro kick to people. 9 times out of 10, he's actually kicking them in the face. It's brutal. What they go through physically, probably more than even hockey players go through. But they do it in a choreographed way, much like in a movie scene, they choreograph the fight scenes. Doesn't make you enjoy them any less, you know?
Yeah.
And people forget that, I think. And they just think, oh, it's choreographed, so it's and scripted, so it's, it's stupid. Everything you watch on TV is choreographed and scripted.
There was this stand-up routine where this comedian was talking about wrestling being fake, and he's go, "What kind of psychopath do you think I am if I believe this is real?"
Yeah. Like, there are moments where they go off script, maybe because they don't like I mean, look at New Jack, right?
Or Sexy Star.
It stabbed people in the ring legitimately because he's a psycho. But those moments are few and far between, thank God. But yeah,
Yeah, for me, you know how whenever somebody says wrestling's fake, the first reflex is to send them a picture of mankind falling through the cage.
Yeah,
I think the
yeah.
easier, the modern day version is like, oh, you think wrestling's fake? Watch this guy take a Walter chop.
Oh, 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 God, bro, Walter. I defy anybody to watch Walter chopping Adam Cole or Dragunov,
Or Champa.
um, or Champa, and tell me that none of this shit hurts. Because if you can say it with a straight face after seeing it, like you need medicine, you need a psychiatrist, something, because I cringe, right? Like every time he hits someone with one of those chops, I wince. Like, ugh. Ah,
Walter, Walter reminds me that wrestling's real in a way. Like,
yeah.
okay, and everybody shits on Lesnar, rightfully so. But the way Lesnar dropped people on suplexes like Cena, you're like, ugh.
Yeah, I love Lesnar. I'm a big fan, but
Mark.
I know a lot of people hate him, but like to me, that man is like the personification of what a monster heel should be in WWE.
Okay. Let me say this. I think Lesnar does great matches. When Lesnar cares, they're great. Like, his match
When he cares, yeah,
with Debray is great. Obviously, his condition is what really prevents him from being from going for a long time.
right.
Right. For me, I just didn't appreciate like the long stranglehold he had on the top, where he had the title and he wouldn't even show up, so we really couldn't use the title a lot.
To me, that's more again of that's booking. You know what I mean? Like that's Vince saying this guy is a box office draw that we have to keep special, right? Kind of like Taker only showing up at Mania. It's like, well, he's only going to show up every couple of months at a pay per view to defend the title. We're going to get mad amounts of money for these tickets because people are going to show up for the match, whatever. But like when you think about the fact that they've tried to get Lesnar back, right? They want him to come back and wrestle again, and he basically has told Vince, "I don't want to be anywhere near the title. If I'm going to come back, I want to be helping other people get over and like building new stars." Like that to me shows that he didn't want those long reigns, right? Like he just wants to go out there and like do his job and build new stars and whatnot. But people, he, he's not in charge of booking, you know. Like can't really fault him for that. I feel like.
Yeah, that's a very good point. He's not in charge of booking, and obviously he did have a limited schedule because of his condition. So, it looked like Lesnar as the guy seems pretty cool off stream, especially when he did
He
that
is.
video of him cooking breakfast at ESPN.
I actually met him. He's a really nice dude. Like I went backstage once and met a bunch of wrestlers, and he was actually the nicest of everybody. Like I met the Hardys, Ric Flair, Crash Holly, Tommy Dreamer, what's his name, Stevie Richards, like a bunch of people. By far the nicest was Brock Lesnar. Like he sat there and just talked with everybody. Like and they were like, "Yeah, you know, you gonna get ready soon?" He's like, "I'm good. I'm good. I'm gonna spend more time here." It was cool.
All right, just one moment. Ghost writes, "We can never forget Lesnar and his shooting star press, but Brock
Oof.
never said no to booking and the massive paycheck. Fuck yeah, you don't say no to a big paycheck.
Yeah,
You
you
gotta make,
don't. Well, yeah, you
you gotta
don't say
look out for
no.
number one.
Yeah, and as far as saying no to the booking, I mean, you can say no, but that doesn't mean that you're gonna get, your wish. I mean, look at Daniel Bryan. He said no. He didn't want to be in the triple threat this year at Mania, but he was put in anyway.
Speaking of a wrestler that got, I know we're getting off topic, but a wrestler who got way more heat than he deserved because of booking was Reigns.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, granted, I didn't like later on Roman matches, and they were really trying to build him up as a face, but I never saw that as Roman's fault.
Right.
And now Roman Reigns matches are some of my favorite matches of recent memory.
Yeah, as a heel, he's everything he was in NXT cranked to 11. Back then he was like the thoroughbred where he would answer the phone during interviews and be like, I'm on the phone, like very confident, cocky, arrogant, like you're on my time. As a babyface, like he worked. People forget, like, the biggest thing against Reigns' babyface character wasn't even, like, so much the matches, but the promos, like the Suffer and Succotash. He didn't write that, right? The writers gave him this line, and he had to roll with it. And, like, again, people crapped all over him because of something that was out of his control. And it killed me, because I've always liked Reigns from day one through his babyface run to now. I've always thought he was super unappreciated. And seeing him now finally get some respect again, it does my heart good.
I think for me, my issue with face Reigns was I'm gonna discount the promos, all right? Because they were pre-written. Was that you look at Reigns and you just want him I just wanted a baby face that destroyed people. And but then whenever Reigns wrestled, like with Sheamus or Bray Wyatt, how can Reigns overcome the odds? I mean, look at Bray Wyatt's a schlubby dude who looks like a spring breaker in New Mexico. That's not me discounting Bray. I'm just saying, like,
right.
if you stood Reigns and Bray Wyatt side by side and asked someone who looks like the underdog, no one's saying Reigns.
Right.
And so with Reigns having these, like, the classic WWE babyface format, which the face takes 80% of the offense, then powers out and does a finisher at the last minute or a surprise roll-up, that booking doesn't work well with Reigns. And
they wanted him to be the new Cena.
Yeah.
And that didn't work.
Yeah, Cena could do the overcome the odds and I'm going to, like, never give up. Cena could do that. I didn't want that from Reigns. So when Reigns is now doing this tribal chief and he's just killing people, like, remember when he kept hitting Jey Uso with the forearms?
Yeah.
And I like this Reigns.
Yeah, because when you look at the man, he's a tatted up Samoan monster, right? And it's like he should be running through people. So trying to treat him like Super Cena, it was a mistake. And I get why they did it. They wanted him to be the next Cena, and Cena got over. He became one of the greatest by having that kind of booking. But not everyone's going to be the same, right?
You know, if Reigns had the same booking as McIntyre, we would be people would be a lot more accepting of him. Because McIntyre, they're doing the how can he overcome the odds, but McIntyre gets to kill people.
Yeah. Like they mixed it perfectly with McIntyre.
All right, Bryan never deserved the triple threat match, but also wouldn't have been a bad angle to have Edge pin Bryan and have Reigns get the title back a week later.
I agree.
I'm happy that Reigns retained at Mania because I want Roman to lose the belt in a packed arena. And I want people, if I was there, I would boo the shit out of Roman because that's what you do, people. If you love a heel, you boo your heel.
Yes. Yeah, like that's why when people complained about Cena, right? Or even Roman. When Roman was getting his loudest boos, I would tell people, if you don't like him, if you don't want him on TV a lot, don't react. Because wrestling is a business of reactions. Negative or positive, if it's a strong reaction, they love it, right? It means that you're invested. One way or the other, you're invested and you want to see either this person win or lose. So all those moments, like when he beat Taker at Mania, and then the next night on Raw, everyone was booing him for 15 minutes straight.
Oh, that was
with
so
not allowing him
good.
to talk. That was money for him. That was legitimately like telling Vince, "We want more."
It was also just really, it showed how good Reigns was at crowd control because he had enough wherewithal to put the mic down, bring it
Yep.
up, put it down, bring it up. That's
Yeah.
he had him eating out of the palm of his hand.
He really did. And like people forget that. Like Corbin, right? Corbin gets booed out of the building. He gets booed out of the building because he's playing you. Like he knows how to get the fans to hate him. And because of that, he's stayed near the top of the mid card and bottom of the main card forever. Because he's so good at that. If you don't like someone, don't react. That's what killed what the hell? Ricochet. All right, let's go Ricochet. Ricochet didn't get those reactions one way or the other. When he came out, like, yeah, he would do a cool spot and people would be like, "Ooh!" But then the rest of the match, if you watch his matches on the main roster, people didn't care. Like, there was no reaction. So now he finds himself, kind of in no man's land. What's his name? Velveteen Dream has been spotted at backstage at Raw. He was at this last Raw backstage, which means most likely he's going to be called up soon. If they don't react to him, he's not going to, who cares? Like, he's going to be in the back because people don't react. But if they get strong reactions, he's going to be pushed.
One moment. I just want to acknowledge chat real quick. Let's see. Well, I can't say he didn't deserve it. Scratch that. Hi, random person. How you doing? Thanks for coming. And hey, Buzz Frenzy. Hey, it's all going good. How you doing? I'm interviewing. Let me just catch everybody up. I am interviewing BigBlueD, who is a friend of mine that does his own wrestling fed where you could redeem points to become a wrestler in his federation. And I've been picking his brain about pro wrestling and what it's like to run a fed. And thank you for the follow, Buzz. Thank you. If you guys haven't, and if you love pro wrestling, I dropped his Twitch link in the chat. So please give him a follow if you can. We got some people from Blues community showing us love. Hi, Ghost. Thanks for coming. I like how this thing is transitioned to just WWE, like it was gonna happen.
Yeah, well, we even said that. We were like, we were going to talk BTW and then pro wrestling in general, probably. So,
oh, I mean, it was inevitability. So,
yeah,
why dodge it?
Yeah, why fight it?
By the way, if anybody's wondering, I am drinking roasted green tea.
Roasted.
It's imported. Yeah, it's imported from Japan. My fiance loves tea. This is definitely a blend more, according to them, more popular with children because it's not as strong with the green flavor. I do like the roasted quality.
I'll have to give it a try because I dislike most teas except for sweet tea and iced tea. So I'm I'm trying to find the what?
When you say sweet tea, we talking Lipton sweet tea or Snapple sweet tea?
No, I don't think I've had either of them.
You haven't had a Snapple?
I mean, I've had iced tea, a Snapple, but not the sweet tea. I've had the gold something. I forget what it's called. It's gold something tea, sweet tea, and I've had it like at restaurants. But
oh man! All right, so let's get back to BTW.
Okay.
You love the NWO.
I do.
And what made you want to use the NWO iconography for your wrestling fed?
So, what NWO did so well back in their prime before they started letting everybody and every janitor join the roster was like they would come in, they would talk mad smack about whoever they wanted to, right? And then they would beat them. Like they weren't the cowardly heels. They weren't like the oh my god, like this person showed up and I'm gonna like run away because I don't think I can beat him. No, they would just brutalize whoever was in their path, and they would talk mad crap about it during, before, after. Just they were almost like a gang, right? Like like an actual gang who just ran the streets if the streets were made up of wrestling rings. And so to me, when I formed the BWO, right, it was like, well, A, the BWO already existed, the Blue World Order in ECW. So, like, there was a, logo was already around. But, like, also, that's who I wanted my guy to be more like, was like Hollywood Hogan, that I'm the cock of the walk. You can't beat me. And if you think you can, I got this man on this side, this man on that side, and these two in the back of me. And they're either going to protect me from being beaten, or they're going to avenge me, beat you down, and then I'm going to beat you while you're hurt. Like, that's kind of where I got it from.
So, what elements of the NWO did you want to bring to BTW, or did you just, is it one of those that looks cool, I'm using it?
The arrogance, the arrogance, and just the, you want to beat me, you want to beat me, you want to beat me, and you can't be either. Like, you can't do either, right? Like, that's what I wanted to bring in.
So you're streaming. You got a little chip on your shoulder about your Fed.
I mean, a little bit. Like, again, like, we've all grown up watching wrestling thinking we could do better, right? Like, where we say, well, if I was in charge of Raw or AEW or Ring of Honor, like, whatever, I could do a better job, right? Having an E-Fed allows you to kind of try your hand at that. And it's not easy. It really isn't. You would think it would be because it's a video game and you're not on TV, whatever. But like I said before, the hours put into it, the long-term booking, trying to get everybody in matches and everything in a limited amount of time, like, it all is so hard to do. But in my eyes, I'm still trying to outdo, even though I'm not in competition with them, right? Like, I'm trying to outdo all the other actual federations. I want my booking to be better. I want my matches to be better. I want, like, everything that I see on TV, I'm trying to, like, improve upon. And then, like, that kind of, like you called it, a chip on my shoulder, I'm trying to, like, get that chip bigger and bigger so nobody can knock it off.
All right. You ready for a bit of a practical skills test?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Looking right at the camera and talking to the viewers at home, what puts BTW above every other wrestling fed on Twitch?
Are you saying you want me to do a promo?
I'm saying do it however you want to do it.
Okay, all right.
I'm saying if you want to cut, go ahead. But I'm not going to stop you.
Look, let me tell you something. There's many E-Feds out in the world, right? I have friends who run E-Feds. And it's great. They're entertaining just like the indies. They got their own little flavor in their little school gyms, with their 10 viewers and their little child sucking on a lollipop, not knowing what the hell's going on. The BTW, however, is the WWE, the pinnacle of E-Feds, right? If you want top tier talent, top tier booking, you want the best of the best, the top of the mountain, the cock of the walk, you go to BTW. If you want to, slum it with the peasants and the little guys, sure, the indies is great. Why not? You get your 20 minutes of ooh, ah, flippity flip flips. But we got the 5-star classics, my friend. BTW is the 5-star Shinsuke versus AJ, NJPW. The rest is Donnie Demanding versus Patrick Poussois. And nobody cares about Donnie, Patrick Poussois and Donnie Darko. All right, good movie though. I'll give him that.
I'm not laughing
You
at
asked
you.
me to shoot.
I'm reacting. Oh, chat's popping off. Chat is popping off. Actually, well, hey Staple. Yeah, it's a morning stream, afternoon stream for Big Blue. Thank you for the follow, Who Craft Lives. Thank you so much. I didn't want you to think I was ignoring you. It's just Blue was in the middle of something. I had to let that play out. And hey, Buzz. Yes, we are talking about pro wrestling. Blue, that was great. Great. I give you a Dusty Rhodes out of 10.
Oh damn! I'll take it.
But with most e-feds, usually the promoter is making and supplying their own wrestlers. So for you, do you find it more difficult or do you find it easier that these wrestlers were attached to your actual viewers?
I find it more difficult because so like before the BTW, I created like an entire roster of just original characters, right? And they all have backstories or whatever, and it was easy because I was like, I'm just going from my imagination, things that pop into my head, whatever, and no one really cares, right? Like, except me. But when you're making stuff of your community, you're putting in a personal effort, right? You're trying to represent those people as best as possible. You want them to look good. You want them to perform good. You want them to be something that that community member can cheer for, because it's their avatar. So it's a lot more pressure. It's a lot more effort, I feel like. So definitely harder.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Also, Flat Tick 90 didn't want to make it look like I was ignoring you. Thank you for coming. Thank you. And yes, Buzz, we're the Cosplay Wrestling Federation, and we do live pro wrestling shows without pro wrestling. And it's very fitting that we talk to BigBlueD, who runs his own e-fed with his viewers. Which it means, Buzz, if you stay in his channel long enough, you might have an opportunity to be in his wrestling fed. Might, don't know, like, it's all in the booking. It's all in the booking.
Yeah, it's all up to space.
How about when it comes to new viewers? Like, how do you try to arrange your product in a way that the average new person comes in, knows what's going on? Or it's one of those, like, this is for my community, I want that, like, they're number one. If somebody else new joins in, they'll learn it. Like, how do you account for the new viewer?
So when someone new comes in, right, and they don't, like, 9 times out of 10, what they'll say is something like, "Can you put Undertaker versus Adam Cole or something?" Right? And then what I'll say is, I'm really sorry, but we don't use existing wrestlers here. Like, everything here is based off, the community. Everything you see here is created from storylines to everything else, right? If you want to be a part of that, just build up your channel points. I'll put you in, space allowing. And, but other than that, you're never going to see an existing wrestler, like, actually in the BTW. I try to just give them, like, a basic outline, right? And I've had people, like, unfollow right away when that happens. Like, oh, it's not, I don't get to see, like, the actual wrestlers. Boo.
I mean, you have the game for that.
Everyone has their own taste.
Yeah,
I'm not going to fault them for that, but
because that is one thing. That is another side of e-feds that we haven't really talked about. Is there are e-feds that just do fantasy booking.
Yeah. So, like, people might have Shinsuke Nakamura, be the guy, the top guy in their e-feds. Some people might have, Baron Corbin come out in a cheerleader outfit because they hate him so much. Like, they use the real wrestlers and book things how they want to see, like, what they want to see on a weekly basis. So those are cool though. I like those. I enjoy those. to me though, I just wanted, I wanted more personal touch with my community. I wanted them to be involved with everything.
But I think I got everything out there. Was there anything you wanted to cover yourself or you wanted to nerd about before we end it today, Blue?
Um, I do want to say one thing. I want to get rid of this stigma that I quote unquote hate AEW just to hate AEW. Like, it's so not true. I started off as a fan. I was so pumped because WWE was going to have this competitor, right? Like WCW did. Like, they brought out the best. Competition brings quality, right? On both brands. And I was pumped because they promised they were going to be different. They were going to, like, think outside the box, push new people. And I was in, man. And it's Russo run TNA and WCW days. It's all recycled WWE stuff. They're bringing in all the has-beens and never ones of WWE, never was from WWE, rather than pushing guys that should be pushed, that are like younger and all. It's just, I just wanted them to do better and do what they promised, and so I don't hate them. I just hate what they've become.
What was the breaking point for you? Like, when was the time where the milk started to turn sour?
Probably the first. No, it was the second pay-per-view. What was it? Double or Nothing.
All In.
I was just like, no, it was a. I think it was all. I think All In was the first one, and then Double or Nothing I think was the second one. But it was just the matches. There was no selling. There was no in-ring psychology. No story being told. It was just a bunch of spots, right? Just empty spots. I found the Moxley matches just. I've never liked him before WWE, during WWE. Like, I just think he's a guy who can't wrestle, so he covers up what the fact that he can't wrestle by busting himself open and cutting himself and being slammed into thumbtacks, whatever. So, like, the fact that they were pushing him over guys like Omega, I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like, they're literally putting an ex-WWE guy that wasn't that good to begin with at the top of the company when they have someone who could shape a new, like, entity and turn it into a powerhouse because he's such a prominent wrestling talent in Omega. Hell, I know it would have looked bad, but even Cody Rhodes would have been a better choice. I don't know. It just... That was when it started to get sour. Then when they started to sign guys like Jack Swagger and Miro, like guys that shouldn't be pushed to a top of a card whatsoever. And it's like Big Show, Christian, guys, Sting. You're gonna let Sting wrestle. You're gonna let WWE was smart enough, and they try and capitalize on everything, right? They will take your money and not apologize twice about it. They were even smart enough to say, look, Sting is not supposed to wrestle. We do not clear him to wrestle. He's 60-something years old, took a horrible neck bump. And AEW is like, hey, let's give him to our biggest, strongest guy, and he can give him power bombs. What? Ugh.
When Hangman Page didn't go over, I knew they messed up. That was from Mastermind.
Yes. Exactly. Like, Hangman Page is another guy that's just, along with MJF, that I think could turn that company around into something legit, right? A company that can pull in 1 million+ viewers every week if booked properly. They're not. Like, I don't even know what they're doing with Hangman at this point. Like, his booking's been so all over the place and atrocious at this point. It's just hard to watch. MJF, I'll give it to him. They're starting to book him correctly. He's formed his own faction. He's going after Jericho. Good. Bravo. But where's the rest? Like, Jungle Boy has been killing it since day one. He doesn't have a title. What?
Okay, Staple X goes, not putting Kenny over. Isn't he currently AEW and Impact World Champion? I think Blue was talking about the formula of the years, how Mox had it before Kenny.
Yeah, and like they wasted an entire like year pretty much pushing Moxley over Omega. And by that point, like it's just like, yeah, now he's the champ, but like the damage has been done to the company. They can't even do like end their major matches properly. Like you got Jericho being put through cement that's cardboard, and he's laughing. He's supposed to be like super injured, like you just got put through cement. The man was laughing because of how bad it was. He's sitting there laughing while they're checking on him, and the announcers are like, "This could be career threatening." That's how bad that was. The sparklers, the spark.
Hey! You know what the best part about that was? Eddie Kingston putting it over.
Yeah, it made it worse.
He William Regaled it. By the way, for those who don't know, William Regaling something is when you find a kayfabe explanation to something in wrestling that's obviously not real. It's amazing. Poor Kingston on the whole situation. Yeah, I thought. Okay, so when the sparklers came off, right? I thought in my head like, oh shit, Omega made this, so maybe he made a busted product so that he wouldn't die. That was my that was my thing. Like something the Joker would do, like the bomb would tick down and it would just go ha ha and then not blow up. I thought that's what Omega did. And then Kingston, when he fell over, I thought he was just like protecting Mox. By the way, I love that moment where he like actually tries to like save his friend. I think that's amazing. Yeah. So he's there, and then when the EMTs came out and he sold it like death, I'm all, oh no, this wasn't intentional. If he didn't do that, they could have played it off like, haha, Kenny, you suck. But then the week later when Kingston explained why he passed out, I went, you professional.
Yeah, Eddie's a beast in that way. Like, I just want him to stop trying to rip off and, like, be WWE 2.0 and, like, be different. Like, the fact that they had recently a champagne truck.
Okay, that was totally out of, like, that was Austin McMahon.
Yeah, that was Austin in the beer truck. When I think it was Matt Jackson, when he used the whole, I'm sorry, I love you. How much more blatant are you gonna get? Like, get your own stuff. Be different.
Well, the thing about the Bucks is they always wrestle with the fourth wall broken. Now, okay, let's rewind a bit, all right? Since we now started Blue's AEW triad, there's a lot of things that AEW do that more feds should do. Like one, the wrestlers get to keep their names. Right.
I agree with that.
Yeah. They don't, wrestlers don't get repackaged. Certain things in WWE, I understand why they get repackaged. Like Owens ain't gonna be using Kill Steen Kill. Like I get that, right?
Right. Yeah.
Two, other media like Twitch and Cameo and stuff. AEW is way loose on that, and they do embrace that more. They also let the wrestlers exist in non-wrestling world, like being the elite. How you actually see the wrestlers exist in their own storylines, like the whole thing with Fuego del Sol and the Tornado DDT. I love that storyline. And I feel like in WWE, the wrestlers only exist in their ring gear, backstage, ready to fight. Like they don't have relationships with one another.
Right.
That's big. And I think more people should do that. Now,
that's the stuff that drew me to them initially.
Now, to make sure that the AEW, blue hating AEW thought gets put to rest, I'm going to ask you this.
Right.
Even today, what do you think are the things AEW does right?
Okay, so like all the things that you brought up, I think are crucial, right? I think that they do let the wrestlers have a lot more creative control, which, I mean, if anything, if the Street Profits have proven anything in WWE, it's when you let a wrestler have control, they can really run with it and become something big.
Dude, not just the Street Profits, the New Day.
Yeah. So, like, you give an entire company like that, you get to find out who can sink and who can swim very quickly, right? You're gonna get to find out who's worthy of being pushed and who's not, because the ones that aren't worthy, they're gonna flub, they're gonna like botch their lines. It's just gonna be a disaster, right? I think they do a better job of like bringing a more mature feeling to the product. But I get it. Like, I don't hate WWE, right, for being PG, right? Like, a lot of people rip on them for that. I understand it. They're a publicly traded company and all this other stuff, right? Like, they kind of have to be anti barbed wire and all that, That being said, like, I don't think mature has to be barbed wire and thumbtacks and all that. Like, you could just. A lot of people say shit or damn it, whatever, like when they're pissed. Not gosh darn it, gee willikers. So
Suffer and succotash.
AEW does that very well. Those are things that I think they do exceptional. And what I wanted to see was them take these things to the next level by coming up with different matches that we've never seen before, right? That they were going to start doing things with booking that like the records. I like the records. I think that's a great idea. I had records in BTW. But they kind of they started to go this direction, and then they made a hard left turn into WWE territory, and now everything they do is WWE light, and it's just it's disappointing.
Buzz writes, I want to see Jungle Boy go on a singles run for the TNT title.
Yes!
Just not with Miro champ right now. Don't want Jungle Boy to get buried. Or even Jurassic Express, the tag gold, just something really. I know. I thought they were gonna like give it to SCU, but I wouldn't mind watching the Jurassic Express take it off the Bucks.
Yeah.
For me, one thing that AEW does really well that I haven't said is when they book a feud, they do a good job keeping the wrestlers away from each other. WWE is so like, how many times did we see Ambrose fight AJ before during their feud?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like they'll have a match like McIntyre versus Lashley, but then we'll have McIntyre versus Lashley in a singles match. Like, why are you giving away the match?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying there, and I do agree in that regard. I do think that they tend to sometimes cut feuds short, though. Like the Jericho, what the hell is his name? Oh my god.
Orange Cassidy?
Yeah, Cassidy. The guy who does like all the
I love
the
Orange
weird
Cassidy.
shit. Like
Mark my
yeah,
words.
you never want to see Orange Cassidy as a champ. He's not worthy to be a champion. Like, let's put that out there. He's great at what he does. He's a great entertainer. But it's like putting a belt on Doink the Clown. Like, you just don't do it.
You don't want to put the belt on Doink the Clown?
No. But you put those. They were having a great and entertaining feud. So I feel like just when it started, it was over. And it's like they tend to do that sometimes too quick. And then you have others where it's like they drag it out, and that's something WWE does. Is sometimes they drag it out forever, and it's like, look, just find that sweet spot. 3 months, 3 months of a feud is the max. Never less than a month.
Unless you have the Magic feud. Like, I could watch Revival versus American Alpha all day.
Okay, in the ring, yes. Out of the ring, I disagree. I don't think either of them are good enough on the mic to like carry a long feud for that long.
Miro with Best Friends for like a year was wild.
I didn't care for the angle. It's probably because I love Saban, whatever, but like Miro I've never liked. I think he's severely overrated. I think he only got over because of a chant. The whole Rusev Day thing. I just don't see it.
Oh, my manners blew. Happy Miro Day. Good thing he won the champion on Miro Day.
God. Ugh. Like, the
I'm
fact that
sorry.
he's champ instead of someone like Jungle Boy or Luchasaurus, like, Cage, like, it bothers me so much.
In your opinion, who in A? Okay, so you named Jungle Boy. Who else in AEW do you think is underutilized?
I think Cage should be at the top of the mountain, holding one of the singles belts. Like, the man is a terrifying combination of like strength and agility and just he should be like that Brock Lesnar like character for the AEW. I was good, rest his soul. If he was still around, I would have said Harper, Brody. I feel like they underutilized him awful. I don't know. Like, those are just a couple of guys I think were mistreated or are mistreated.
What about Scorpio Sky?
So like he's really good, but to me, I mean Scorpio's old. Like he looks like he's 65 years old when he steps into the ring. So it's like I'd rather see the young bucks, not the actual young bucks, mind you, but like the new blood, the young up and comers. Give them the runs, not the guys that have been around for years that have had their times in other companies or wherever, right? Like that's where I have the biggest issue with AEW is like they keep pushing what's already been pushed rather than pushing those who have never had it and could use it to like build themselves into something huge.
Buzz Fenzi has a question for you.
What's that?
Are you a John Silver guy?
Not really.
As for myself, first off, hey Ponzu, thanks for coming. We're talking pro wrestling. As for myself, Buzz, I don't watch enough of the product too much to like give a definite opinion. Because here's my thing, all right. People ask me why do I still watch WWE when WWE has been doing a lot of bad things, especially with Raw. And I agree. I think for me, it's because it's much easier for me to get my hands on the product. Like, rest in peace. The network was great. I bought the network. It was easy. I could search for shit easy. I used the network mainly for NXT, right? With AEW, I got to buy a freaking entire TNT network package for like $60 to watch one goddamn show.
Yeah, it's really they don't cater to the fans like they should be for a new company, right? And it's still pretty much a fledgling company. They should be focused more on getting people more like accessible, right? Making it more accessible to the new viewer, the casual viewer, the hardcore, everybody. Make it more accessible. We're in the middle of a pandemic. People are out of work. People are just getting back to work, and you expect them to be able to pay $60 like a month? Like, what are you doing?
Okay, Buzz writes he was hot and then just kind of dropped off. Kind of, I don't know, added a page. Like, thing is weird. I think they're trying to go for the slow build for him. Thanks, Buzz. One thing everybody should do. All right, you too, Blue.
Yeah,
I'm pointing at the camera. Mean Gene. Yeah, cream of the crop. You should go on Toby, as Toby has the entire collection of Lucha Underground for free.
Ooh,
that you could watch
Lucha
legally, with the only downside of ads.
I was a big fan of Lucha Underground.
Lucha Underground is my favorite fed when it comes to storytelling, just because they shot it like a TV show first. Stapler, to your point, there is AEW Dark and Elation. The problem with AEW Dark and AEW Elation is they have pretty much one type of match, which is established wrestler versus jobber. So it's a great way to like see a lot of new people, but and it's fun for the time. But then the story progress only really moves during Dynamite, which is understandable just because that's TV.
Yeah. As for your comment about Raw and SmackDown's been killing it. I think SmackDown's been the best in ring, the best product in general in wrestling at the moment. Raw, I don't think is as bad as people give. Like, I think lately it's kind of turned it up a bit. I do wish that Lashley wasn't champion and Strowman was nowhere near the championship scene. I think the two of them they're awful. They suck. But for the most part, other than the women's division kind of getting 3-minute matches again, which I don't understand at all with the talent they got, I think Raw's been pretty entertaining. It's not great. It's nowhere near SmackDown or NXT or whatever, but it's solid at least. It used to there was a rough patch for a while with it, but I think the last 2 months has been pretty good.
I can't do 3 hours, man.
I know it's a long time, but think about it. With all the people, if you put it back to 2 hours, so many people aren't going to get screen time that should get screen time. RK Bro is one of the greatest tag team combinations I've seen since the Rock and Sock connection. And you put it down to 2 hours, you might not even get a Rock and in a RK Bro segment. You know, you might not get guys like Donovan Dijakovic getting TV time, and that it's a catch-22. You know, it's a lot of time to invest, but there's a reason for the time.
How do you? Okay, I think. Wow, we're almost about 2 hours. Probably one of the last topics we'll address, and this is obviously a personal opinion of yours. How do you feel about the idea of a wrestling off season?
It would really depend on how they treated it. So the NFL, right? In the off season, you get the draft, you get the combine, you get free agency, right? These are things that kind of give you your dose of the product before the season starts. If they did that, if they maybe had combines, right? Or maybe showed you the new crop of people in the performance center working out, working on their craft, doing behind the scenes or showing matches from the company that they were in prior before signing. Those things, I would be all for it. But if it's just going to be an off season and it don't give you anything whatsoever, right? It's just an off season with nothing, I'm not for it at all.
I would love an off season just because I think wrestlers need breaks, especially with the shitty employment situation. And for me, if I ran WWE, I would, during my off season is when I get to use my lesser known wrestlers.
But if it was an off season, how would you use them?
No, the main roster would take an off season.
Oh, so you're saying you would give the main roster they would take off, and then you'd bring up the guys that aren't really used, and they'd be on the product.
Yeah, I would
Okay.
I would cycle my roster, kind of like how Call of Duty switched developers every year.
Yeah,
So you always got product, but you weren't burning out the team.
okay, yeah, that would be. I'd be behind that. I would do that. I'd be all for watching that.
Big end season events, wrap up feuds, build tension for new feuds, push stuff on social media during the off season. I just think I do think, and I really hope in 2021, especially with COVID, that the business itself really starts addressing how bad the working conditions are in terms of employee benefits for the wrestlers.
Right.
Because this is a job you could die in regularly.
Yeah, no, they could.
But
Especially people like Jeff Hardy who jump off things.
yeah. We can now have Jeff Hardy just jump off something really high because he has the remaining 364 days to take a break.
Exactly.
every year, you know how they drop the ball in Times Square? We're gonna just have like the Jeff Hardy where he. Like we put a wrestler on a table and we'll like the table will have the name of the year, so like he'll like 2022 and he'll jump off like the Hardy Tower. Happy New Year.
Please make this a thing.
We're here in the Hardy compound for the New Year's Eve Hardy drop.
That would be amazing.
Though Jeff Hardy has other risk factors besides wrestling, right? He does. Matt Hardy was smart, where he realized I can't make a living forever jumping off high shit, and Jeff Hardy's all, give me the high shit.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. But hey, Blue, this was amazing. Besides your Twitch channel that we've been promoting, where else can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter on BigBlueD79, and on TikTok under BigBlueD, and YouTube under Out of the Blue, but like space between each word.
Yeah, and if you haven't, give Blue a follow. And chat, if you like this stuff where I just interview other streamers, let me know. This is kind of like a thing I'm just experimenting with, and I just really wanted to talk to Blue in a real setting. And this has been fun.
It's been a blast.
All right.
I appreciate you asking me.
Of course, man. Thanks. I'm sure now we're really going to come and appreciate the level of craft and work that you put into your streams. And a lot of the time it's the work that we don't see. Like 6 hours, like 2 to 6 hours of prep. And that's not even counting on like when you're brushing your teeth. How do I book rhetoric today?
Yeah, pretty much. It's pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine Blue in front of his mirror. He's like, how do I book rhetoric? Oh shit, wait, Sandor is #1 contender, right? Oh fuck. Oh, maybe if I lower the stats on Raven, he'll win, but do I want to leave it up to chance?
Exactly. Oh my god. It's my life.
I can see into your mind, Blue.
Get out of my head! Get out of my head!
Okay, it's alright. Just switch the controller to port 2. I'll get out of your head.
Okay, hold on. Alright, we're good.
Oh shit, what are you thinking? I can't read your moves anymore. You like to play Castlevania!
I do.
Alright, so here's what's gonna happen, chat. I gotta reboot the streams so I get back my old camera feed. I'm gonna move Staple X writes, you're not Psycho Mantis. Yes! I'm gonna refresh the stream and I'm gonna go into Yakuza 0 where I'm gonna play more Texas Hold'em and rage at the camera. We'll see from there. But hey, thank you so much, Blue. This has been amazing, and I wish you the best. May you get your Stone Cold.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. See you in a bit, chat.